We're coming to you live on Voice of the People USA radio and TV network, on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. And we are so honored to have Steve Jarvis with us today. Steve is a fifth-generation regenerative farmer from Idaho, by way of Texas, though. He's an educator on regenerative farming practices through his organization, Sustainable Agrarian Solutions. And he's most recently been consulting with RFK Jr. on restoring small farms across America. We're so excited to have you with us, Steve, today. I always start out with a scripture before we get into the conversation. So let me read that. It's Romans. Today's scripture is Romans chapter 8, verses 18 through 21. And I just thought it was so appropriate that the Lord led me to this scripture bright and early this morning. It says, I'm convinced that any suffering we endure is less than nothing compared to the magnitude of glory that is about to be unveiled within us. The entire universe is standing on tiptoe, yearning to see the unveiling of God's glorious sons and daughters. For against its will, the universe itself has had to endure the empty futility resulting from the consequences of human sin. But now, with eager expectation, all of creation longs for freedom from its slavery to decay and to experience with us the wonderful freedom of coming to God's children, or wonderful freedom coming to God's children. And I believe we're in that time of the revealing of God's glorious sons and daughters. We're the ones who love him, who've pursued him, who are standing up and living and leading by example. How are God's glorious sons and daughters revealed? Well, the Bible tells us that they'll know us by our love for one another. And true love is seen by action, by our refusal to bow to evil, condone evil, or allow evil to continue in our sphere of influence. And all of creation has been impacted by human sin, and all of creation has been eagerly waiting for us to stand up, speak up, to rise and shine, and to use the authority, power, understanding, skills, and gifts given to us by Christ, our Redeemer and King.
We have everything we need, don't we, Danielle?
Yeah.
We have everything we need in Christ. And I love the phrase empty futility of the consequences of our sin. It's like God doesn't want to have to punish us. He gives us every opportunity to return, to redeem, to repent, and to live for him. And, you know, he's so merciful and so good. One of his acts of goodness and mercy was allowing you to get contact with our guest today.
That's right.
Steve Jarvis, who I've been so impressed. I've been giddy about having him on. As you said, fifth generation farmer, 2009 agriculturalist of the year. Steve Jarvis, welcome to the State of Freedom, sir.
Oh, yeah, just so you know, we were agriculture in 2009 and we were completely out of business by the end of 2010. So, if you want to know how I can advise RFK, it's because I've been through 4 farm failures due to government regulations.
4 of them.
Yeah, so that's right. My wife's side is fifth generation dairy. When we got married, when I grew up, my dad was head of the USDA, which was the ASCS office in Northeast Texas when I was a boy growing up. And we had cattle, and then there was 575 family dairy farms in that area. And then there was all row crop farmers.
Steve, you're cutting out pretty bad. Hey, Steve, you're cutting out pretty bad. Would you mind maybe just, I know you've had a power outage this morning and, you know, you're trying to get a good signal there. Maybe let's try it for a minute longer. And if it doesn't work too well, we'll just see if turning off your video might help the speed so we can hear you.
Okay.
Steve, you said that you've had 4 farms that have gone under because of government intrusion in your life?
Oh, he's frozen. Let's see. Steve, if you can hear us, your screen is frozen. I guess he'll just come. Hopefully he'll be able to come back. He told us there was a storm last night that knocked out the power at his house. So he drove to the top of the hill in his truck.
In his truck with his dog, Rudy.
Yeah.
Rudy, Rudy. I got to tell you, that's probably, Katie had a Pomeranian. We had a Pomeranian for years named Rudy. And you know why we named him Rudy? Because that
Because of
was
the movie?
the movie. That was the first, when Katie and I went on a date the first time, that's the movie she picked out for us to watch, Rudy.
Oh,
She
look
loves
at
that movie. And so we named our Pomeranian Rudy. And he was about as small as the Rudy that walked on at Notre Dame and made the team. And he had about as big a heart.
Oh,
Yeah, Rudy. So anyway,
here we
yeah,
go.
if we
Here's
get,
Steve. Let's see. Hey, Steve, we got you back.
he said a storm came through last night, knocked all his power out.
All right. How about now, Steve? Can you hear us? Shoot. You know what we can do is he can always just call me.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it that way. It's just so interesting to me what he's doing, and that he has taken this head on about doing regenerative farming, which from what I understand, is basically getting all of the garbage out of our crops, out of our food, and doing it in a way that's economically beneficial.
Hold on. Let me just give him a call, Chris. 1 second.
Yeah,
That
give him a
way.
call.
That way. Okay.
Yeah, we're on the podcast right now. We're waiting for our guests, but we're live. Eli, we're live right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right.
Your call has been forwarded to
Okay.
voicemail.
There is no quit in the state of freedom. We're going to get it on.
Let's see here. Hey, Steve. Look, if you get booted out again, just give me a call on my phone, or I'll call you. We can't hear you. No.
Tell them you're calling.
Yeah, let me just give you a quick call. I think the signal will be clear just by phone. Okay. All right. All right. Thanks for bearing with us, folks.
Absolutely.
Oh. Shoot. We have all kinds of chaos going on over here. All right. Hey, Steve. Steve, can you hear us at all? The dang power. Let's see. All right, maybe he'll give me a call. Let me try him. Y'all, thanks for bearing with us.
Absolutely. We're so thankful for all of y'all.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Hey, Steve, we got you loud and clear. Thank you. Thanks for persevering. We're so sorry about this.
Hey, it's just, the technology. I have 26,000 acres in my backyard, and I use Starlink, and when the power's out, we're out.
Yeah, your backup is your front line.
Yeah.
That's
But Steve,
right.
I
Yeah.
have to ask you, I've got to ask you about this because I thought I heard you say that you've had 4 farms that have gone under because of government regulation.
That is correct. So my wife's 5th generation dairy, and so whenever we got married, we helped on the 3 dairies that her family had, and by 1994, all those dairies were out of business due to government regulations. And then, so at the same time, my wife and I were also building the first range-fed hogs in the state of Texas, Northeast Texas. And what we did is we just switched completely to hogs. Well, Obama made a ruling where we couldn't ship hogs through cattle sale barns, which have been done forever in the state of Texas, and we were out of business in one weekend.
Oh
and
my
I helped write
gosh.
the rules. I helped write the rules for organic meats for the state of Texas on the pork side about range-fed pork, and then so at the same time we were also putting in a pick your own blackberry farm, and then we had 7 acres of blackberries and about 7 acres of cherry tomatoes. Well, we were going to ship the cherry tomatoes to Dallas, Texas, and we had 19 people that worked in those fields, and fuel went to $4.75, and then the government declared a salmonella outbreak and would not allow us to ship tomatoes. So we plowed 7 acres of tomatoes under the ground, and then the pick your own was over because fuel was at $4.75 and middle class income families couldn't come.
That
So-
is sick.
So we were over in that part. So what we did is we went bigger. We expanded our sweet potato, new potato, and cucumber operation, and we were shipping 500,000 pounds of food off 35 acres to 10 grocery stores in Dallas, Texas. And they allowed us to ship directly to the grocery store. We could have food from our farm out of the field, washed, put on a semi, delivered, and on the shelf in 24 hours.
Wow.
And
Wow.
there's a law that was put in place by Obama and his administration again, was called the Food Modernization Act. And what it was supposed to be for safety. What it did is it eliminated me to ship directly to grocery stores, and our farm was over.
And Steve, I mean, one thing that you just said that stuck out to me that's so disgusting is they allowed us to ship directly. I mean, this is the government. Since when does the government need to be involved in the way that food gets from farms to the grocery store? I mean, we have let the tentacles of government reach into far too many places, and it's been so destructive everywhere it's gone.
Yeah, and what you have to understand is by doing this, see, this is the problem. There are 4 different levels of agriculture. There's giant ag. Now, giant ag was very small when I was growing up and when we were farming, and that has really expanded since about I would say probably about 2005, 6, somewhere along there. And then you have the rotary crop farmer, which what I am, they're almost non-existent. Now, then you have the homestead, and then you have the gardener. That the homestead movement is big, but the homestead movement and the gardener cannot feed the nation.
Right.
And
Exactly.
big ag can feed the nation, but the problem with that is they use pesticides, herbicides, glyphosate, they use atrazine, they use genetically modified seeds, and then the next thing now that's really on the big take is the lab-grown foods, which salmon just got approved yesterday, lab-grown salmon.
That's disgusting.
Steve, I'm going to ask you straight out, how harmful is this stuff?
Well, I know this. So atrazine stays in the soil for 50 years if you put one application on it. And what most people don't talk about is I've got friends that are scientists, and they say that the reason they say that glyphosate doesn't test in the soil after you've used it or whatever is because my understanding is these scientists, and I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist, but they say that what starts out with that is the obesidin gene is what the molecule that they use to start out with glyphosate, and whatever else they add to it, is toxic. But this stuff kills your soil. And if you look, since Americans have been eating food and GMO seeds, you just look at the weight gain. Just go back and look at yearbooks and of young people. Just go back to about 1986 and backwards, and just look at all the yearbooks in the schools, and then look at the the inversion of the pyramid, the food pyramid, and taking fats out and all those things. You'll realize that glyphosate is caused just tremendous health problems in our nation.
And giant ag uses it heavily.
Yes. So where I live now, I'm from East Texas, but where I live now is near the Palouse Valley. And from the Palouse Valley almost to the ocean coast to the Dalles, Oregon, there's 1/3 of the nation's wheat grown here. And they grow a lot of garbanzo beans. And sometimes I've seen them spray that garbanzo beans 4 times with glyphosate. And so people are eating hummus and they think they're eating healthy, and they're blasting this. And I'll tell you something that's the worst part that I witness out here is they'll spray glyphosate while the wheat is in the head to make the fields dry faster and more even. And so that's going straight to, it's going right into it. Why they're doing it that way, I don't know.
We're talking about heavy doses of this stuff, huh? Yeah. Does it
RFK was
does it mean anything? Does it mean anything when you go into the grocery store and you have a section that says organic? Like if I go into Walmart or Albertsons, does that mean anything if it says organic?
Well, my understanding is, if you look at the organic foods that come across the nation, only 2% of it is actually even checked.
Oh.
So how would you know that they're telling you the truth? I mean, it's coming across the border ever since the North American Free Trade Agreement put in by Clinton. That stuff's not even checked. And then you have appeals been approved to spray on these crops. And I'll just tell you this, there's nothing organic. There's no organic food left in America. And let me tell you why. The reason there's not any organic food left is because geoengineering. Now, in my farm plan that I wrote, that's the reason I was invited to speak in Washington, D.C. That's the reason RFK, that video will be out today from HHS. RFK came to my farm. We talked about these things. But the reason that glyphosate and all these things are used, reason nothing is organic, is because of the aluminum content that are in the crops and this chemtrails, you can call them chemtrails, SRM, SAI, cloud seeding, all of it. These chemicals are damaging our crops. And I have soil samples and water samples and snow samples from all over the United States.
Is there any we've talked to a gentleman named Steve Sergey Brown. You may know him from the Clear Skies movement.
I do know him.
Have you in your talks with RFK Jr., I know he's been very against chemtrails, and he's come out even since being part of the administration and addressed the fact that HHS is not the one that is managing the issue. I think he pointed to DARPA. Do you have any insight into how we can get that stopped? Is he working on that, even though it's not in his purview?
Okay, so let me explain how to stop this. So I helped write what is called the Mystic Bill, because number one in my farm plan, so my farm plan creates 1 million new 40-acre farms, and it also, that's 250,000 farms a year for 4 to 5 years, depending on how long it takes. And then it creates 10,000 brand new processing centers. And all these processing centers would process food that are non-GMO. None of the farms can use herbicides or glyphosate or anything like that. And none of the animals that are butchered and none of the milk in this has any mRNA vaccines. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So all this, but we need to rebuild the agrarian society and the agrarian culture, because we're so few of us left now. It's 1%, and the average age is about 62, and I'm 57. And so I want you to understand that this is the hard part. I was the guy that blew the story on Palantir and Rainmaker, that flood that happened over Texas. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I've been working, I have a huge team that are great people and scientists have been working on this for years and years and years. I knew that they were doing things and spraying over Texas, and the people didn't know it. And actually, the country, the EUA or Dubai is, have been doing tests over Texas to see, because their country is so dry, so they've been given ability to spray over Texas rule. And what you have to realize is there are 6 dimensions to this spraying, and this is what people don't realize, that it's not just cloud seeding and it's not just airline fuel, but it's also balloons, it's also NATO, it's also cell towers, it's also NEXRAD. And I know this is hard for people to process, but people have to understand what is happening. And I would help write the new bill called the Mystic Bill.
Okay.
I named the bill after Camp Mystic. We finished the bill 3 days before the flood, if you can imagine that. We finished that bill to stop weather modification in all 50 states, and I tell exactly how to do this with it in every state. And
Steve,
RFK,
did you name it before or after the flood?
okay, so we finished the bill. We did not have the bill named yet,
Okay.
and then so the flood happened 3 days later, and then I named it the next day.
Got it.
Wow.
Because I blew the cover on this. You got to realize they dumped 120 billion gallons of water in 50 square miles in 4 hours. That's double the amount of water that goes over Niagara Falls a day.
That's so sick.
It sounds, Steve, that based upon it, what a noble vision. 250,000 40-acre farms, all pesticide free, all pure, all good. And I'm supposing the reason why we have to get rid of the cloud seeding and the geoengineering is because it's impossible for you to do what you want to do as long as that is continuing, right?
Listen, I have videos and pictures from all the United States, not just my farm, where trees and plants are burnt. I get messages every day. My garden's not growing. I'm not making production. And I'm telling you, aluminum is one of the big products. I'll tell you this, I have 200 of the top doctors in the United States. Dr. Ryan Cole's one of them, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, Dr. Clayton Baker. A lot of these heavy hitting doctors have just signed on with me to support the Mystic Bill. And they've joined with me because the big study and the big cover's about to be blown in September about autism. And I'm sure you guys know that 1 in 31 children have autism now.
Yes.
And that was 1 in 10,000 in 1986. And so Dr. Ryan Cole, he was at my farm when RFK came. We invited him up. He came, and he and I are in the same battle. His aluminum tests and blood tests on people is so off the charts. And we know that aluminum is one of the leading causes inside children's bodies. Now, some of that's from vaccines, but we know that we're breathing this. I just got off the phone. I'm working with 5 states right now, senators and governors in 5 different states. I just had a senator reach out to me, and they just had their hair tested, and they're actually, I said, why are you having your hair tested? They said, I'm sick. And it was high aluminum, and it's everywhere, and we've got to get this stopped, because what would be the point in putting in 1 million 40-acre farms if you're poisoning the soil along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, what is the reason, if you were to ask somebody, what is the reason why you're doing this? And I'll take out the weather modification for just a second, if you can.
Okay.
Is there, would they say that we have to do this for the crops? It helps facilitate growing. It helps keep the crops from getting eaten up by insects or whatever. Is there any, at least facially legitimate reason why they would be doing this?
Well, what they say is they say that they can help farmers. Well, I can tell you right now, if you mapped out the United States, I've been too dry and most other places have been too wet. And they can't make it rain, if that makes sense. They can only take rain that's there. And what happens is, Tennessee, y'all got all my water this year. This is the first rain I've had in 3.5 months. Last night I got a good rain, but so what I'm telling you is, and they tell you it in their own words. There's tons of video out there saying that some areas are going to suffer more and some be flooded and drought, but we're going to do this for the good of mankind, and it's false. It's not true.
It's playing God.
Yeah.
It's playing God. I want him to turn it on. Let God bless me. Let him
That's
make
right.
it rain.
Yeah.
Steve, how did you get what clued you into the chemtrails in the first place? Because it's not, I mean, I guess you're outside, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're paying attention.
Well, I can say this today without being put in a rubber room. I was sprayed by the military in 1989. I was working cattle for several ranches in the Flat Top Wilderness area in northwestern Colorado. I was sprayed by the military in 1989. It put me on my deathbed for 7 years. They
Oh
sent
my
me home from
God.
Mayo Clinic to die. And I was trying to tell people that they were spraying us in 1990. That was before cell phones and before computers.
Wow. Wow. So you've been on this for a while. God,
Yeah.
how did you
Yeah,
get better?
So people can go to my website, sas-usa.com, and there are 2 books they can download for free. One book is on joy. In the back of that book is called The 12 Open Doors. And I use those 12 open doors to heal myself.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll link to those in the show notes. Absolutely.
No
Yeah, those
doubt
books are
about it.
free. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's also a book in there on healing. I have a book on healing. It's about communion, and it shows you from the beginning in Genesis all the way through the Bible, and how communion was designed for us to be Jesus live inside of our physical bodies and to help us be well while we're living in this chaotic planet,
Wow.
the fallen world.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. And
So it was your faith that got you through that.
Exactly. Yes, because 2 of those years I didn't even hardly get out of bed.
wow. That's amazing.
Steve, is there what is the connection in your view between the storm in Texas, Mystic, and weather modification? I had a chance to listen to, I think the guy calls himself the Rainmaker. He actually came down to Louisiana and testified in opposition to a bill in Louisiana.
DeRico is his last
Dorico
name.
somebody, I can't even think
Augustus
of his last name.
DeRico.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he insists that while they did do weather modification over in Texas, that there's no connection between what he was doing and that storm.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is I don't know if he's the fall guy or he just doesn't understand how it works, but they all work together. And your AT&T towers, we have proof that AT&T towers can move storms left, right, back, forwards, create high pressures. They use that and when you see 6G come in, this is going to really play a huge role. And I can tell you I have documentation about 6G and 5G towers that are near schools where people are sick, cancers are up, and things like that. But that's the issue. The issue is people have got to get educated. They have to get in this fight with me, and I can show them from A to Z how to do this, and I can show them how to stop this in their states. I have a plan coming out in 2 weeks. RFK has my plan, and I can show people how to do it from the states. And the federal government, I hate to tell y'all this, but the federal government cannot stop this.
Would you tell us, I think I cut you off earlier whenever you were talking about giving your plan to RFK Jr. Related to stopping this, what he has to say about it, and if he's trying to do anything, although you make it sound like he may not have any ability to do anything.
Okay, so he is working on this. And I can't tell you the covert part of it because
Sure.
he is doing some things, and I don't want to tell the bad guys. And let's just face it, there's a lot of bad guys that are even on our side. And I can tell you this right now: I'm flying back into DC to speak again on the 12th of this month, and I can tell you that the USDA, the FDA, and the EPA are undermining RFK, and they're undermining MAHA.
Yeah.
You're talking
And
about Lee Zeldin?
Yes.
yeah, well, his statements on geoengineering and weather modification were basically gaslighting and saying there's nothing to see here. This has obviously been going on since the 50s. I don't know why everybody's up in arms about it. We're going to take care of you people. I mean, is that a fair assessment, Steve?
Well, the thing about it is, I will tell you this. I talk to senators and House representatives all over the that are state level and federal level. And I can tell you this, they rather, I don't want to use the word stupid. But that's just the case here, or they're in on it.
Yeah.
Because there are too many patents. And let me tell you why the federal government cannot stop this. Let me tell you why.
Please.
Because there are 15 departments in the government, the DOD, the DOE, the NSF, the National Science Foundation. You know, in the National Science Foundation, that every year they've been giving out $230 million to 130 colleges every year to study geoengineering.
Wow.
And that money has been taken by tax. You have NASA, you have NOAA, you have HHS, you have the USDA. All these departments have money. You remember the big fit about Doge and USAID? Y'all know about that big fit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What you have to understand, all they did is took the USAID money and they just moved it into the other 14 other compartments of the government. And so in order to stop weather modification, everybody needs to write this down. You need to write down the WMO. I'm saying that correctly. I'm not saying WHO. I'm talking about the WMO.
Okay.
I've not met a leader in any government yet here in the United States, not on any state level or federal level, that even knows about the WMO. The WMO is located in Geneva. The
What's that
WMO
stand
stands
for,
for
Steve? What does that stand for?
the World Meteorological Organization. Okay. You know who funds those people?
Probably,
America does.
I was going to say probably us. We've been funding our own demise.
And
what are they doing, Steve? Yeah.
Okay, what they do, they're in charge of weather modification, and they're connected to NOAA, which is connected to NASA. And then they're also connected to the UN. And then now this is going to be a big kicker. They're connected to NATO. And what you have to understand is this is so hard for people to grasp, but NATO planes, because the North Atlantic Treaty, we are the ones that wrote the North Atlantic Treaty. This is, and that has to do with, there's 26 countries in that, Poland, Hungary, the Lithuania, all those. And we were doing that in order to, stop, the battle against the USSR back in the day. But now that stuff has been turned on us, and we would have to leave NATO. NATO can fly over every square inch of this entire country and without detection and do whatever it wants to, and it has the same permission as the United States Air Force.
So this is not something, Steve, that would have to be because we're in NATO and because we are founding members of NATO. This is not an activity that has to be explicitly authorized by the federal government.
That is correct. So here's what has to happen. If the federal government was going to stop weather modification, you have to have President Trump write an executive order to get the ball rolling. Then you have to push that and go into law. You have to have 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate vote to stop it. You also have to have all 15 leaders of departments, Brooke Rollins, Lee Zeldin. You have to have RFK. You have to have all these departments, Pete Hegseth. All those people have to say yes. Then you have to also go to the military industrial complex that is doing this stuff, that all this money is flowing through to pay for this weather modification and coming out of the back of NATO planes and Air Force planes. You have to get them to say yes. That means all your generals, all your admirals, and all your leaders of those all military branches. And you have to leave the UN, and you have to leave NATO, and you have to defund the UN and the WMO. Now, how many of y'all believe that all that is going to happen?
It's a pretty high bar.
It's a pretty high bar. What does your legislation that you talked about earlier, Steve, To what extent
Mhm.
does your legislation address these issues right here?
Okay, so the Mystic bill is a state bill. And what you have to understand is the states have more power than the federal government. And the reason
That's
they
right.
do is because of the Civil War. Now, I know that the Civil War mostly was about slavery, but what people don't realize is that Abraham Lincoln asked Robert E. Lee to come be the leader of the Union Army. And Robert E. Lee says, look, I know we have a slavery issue. We're going to deal with that. We'll talk about that. He says, but you're not going to take federal Union troops and mount them against the states because states have rights. And Robert E. Lee left and became Stonewall Jackson's general along beside him. And what happened is Abraham Lincoln changed the American dollar to the greenback dollar. He sent troops into Virginia, and the shot was heard around the world. But even though the South lost the war, the states' rights were still established, and that is
100%. And
that is
Steve, you're exactly right about that. And in fact, one of the really there's a strong argument to be made that Robert E. Lee, Jefferson Davis, and those guys were acting consistent with the Constitution. That as far as being able to get out of the Union, and it really was an assertion of their own state sovereignty, which does exist, and you're exactly right about that.
okay. So what you have to understand is that's the 9th and 10th Amendment. And do y'all know about the big beautiful bill that just passed?
Some.
Okay, let me explain this. So in the big beautiful bill, there was a part that got taken out, and I believe that my team, Marty Taylor Greene, were the ones, because that video that with Rainmaker got 50 million views the first day, and we got that part removed out of the bill. In that bill, it said that no state could make law against AI, and the next thing down is if you went in there, it was about weather modification. So no state could make a ruling, which is unconstitutional just in the bill alone itself.
Right.
So what
100%.
we got that removed out of the bill, and we won. Trump just wrote an executive order to do the same thing through Palantir, through the NDAA, through the military industrial complex. So he's pushing this so bad, but the state still won and still have the right to say, and that's what my Mystic bill does. And my Mystic bill, and I will tell you this, I personally believe that all things in all states should call a special session right now. All governors, all senators, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, what side of the fence you're on. This is a national emergency. This aluminum spraying over us, and these things are killing us and our planet and our animals. Okay, they should call a special session. Any senator, any House representative, any governor or attorney general that won't do this, they do not belong in government ever again in their life.
Yeah.
Well said. Steve, did anybody in Louisiana, we had 2 bills pending this last session. One was a very, very strong bill in Louisiana that was defeated on the House floor, sadly, and we have been very, very vocal about that. And there was another bill that was not as strong that did pass and it's been signed by the governor, but it's not as strong a bill. Do you know if did anybody from Louisiana reach out to you on any legislation here?
Okay, so I've been talking with 3 senators from Louisiana in the last 30 days.
Great.
The problem is they got to me too late. And the reason that they did, and what you have to understand, I have a brand new chart that I'm going to release in the next 2 days. And this chart is a chart from Palantir and Rainmaker. And the chart has a list of all 50 states, and they have the legislation numbers that the states are working on. And they have their guys ready to go to argue against it. And the states that they blocked, and Louisiana has the word blocked by it. It's so powerful to see that the plan that these people have, they're already set up. They already have all the money to fight this. And the problem is with Louisiana, what they did, they're uneducated on what to say and how to go about this and how to win this. And it's real simple. And my bill does 3 things, okay? In my bill, number 1, in every state, you have to repeal any law.
And you guys in Louisiana had a law for weather modification in 1958, if you can
Yep.
believe that.
Wow.
Sure did.
That bill did not get removed. It did not get repealed. If you do not repeal all those laws in your state, and I'm talking through this microphone right here today, I'm telling you, all 50 states, I'm screaming at you. If you won't repeal any of those laws, you go through there, you get your best tech people on it, and you go back to the 1940s and you dig and you get them all. If you won't repeal them, don't do anything else, because you are going to lose at the end of the game. Now, if you get that done, you go to the next step. And the next step is that you protect the people of your state. And that is that the people of Louisiana, the people of Montana, whatever state you're in, we do not consent for pollution to be released over us. And if you use any other phrase, you will be defeated in court.
You're talking about informed consent there.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these state senators and representatives, they're not even speaking for their people. I went to my speaker of my house here in Idaho and I said, look, I don't consent. You represent me. I said, I do not consent for anything to be released from me. I don't care if it's dog urine, Pepsi, or I don't want nothing come out of anything being released over me in any shape, form, or fashion. And neither does anybody else in the state of Idaho we are the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the response?
Yeah.
You don't want to know, because listen, I got in a lot of trouble over that. I had to take that video down because we'll talk about that another day.
Okay.
Because you're going to love.
Steve, how'd your bill? You said your bill in Idaho passed?
Wait, hold on, Chris. Before that, he had a third point.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. You got to go to the third point. So now if you get all your people and if you get all your House representatives and senators, they get everything repealed that's supposed to be, and then they put in there. And what that means is, if you can think about it this way, your governing officials are standing there in the office at your Capitol. And what they are doing is they are listening to the people saying, we do not consent for anything to be released over us as pollution. And if they won't do that, they don't belong in office, because they don't care about your children on the playground.
Well, that's true.
Right? What else do you need to do in this nation besides that?
Fix our elections.
Oh, I got that plan. That's the plan I have. That plan will be released in 2 weeks. You're going to love it.
Awesome.
But Steve, your bill though in Idaho passed. It's the law now.
No, sir. No, sir. But let me finish my third point, and then we'll talk about Idaho, and then we'll talk about Louisiana. The third point is the protection part. Okay, so you got the law repealed. Let's say that we get a state to repeal it. They give the no consent. Then you go to the third part, and the third part is the protection part. And the protection part is, and I wrote this part of the bill myself. I put in there that when a plane lands, because everybody says, oh, the state doesn't have jurisdiction up to 400 feet. Look, I know this, but think about this. If you had 35 states that have this bill in place, these planes have to land. These drones have to land. And when they do, the pilot is arrested. It's a $500,000 fine. He immediately loses his pilot license for life. He goes to state or county jail for 2 years. And when he gets out in 2 years, he has a felony on his record, and he has no First Amendment and no Second Amendment rights anymore. And that is the protection side of the deal. And every bit of the money, so this is how it's going to work. Whenever a state arrests a pilot and he's found guilty, that money goes to the agency, the Sheriff's Department, Police Department, National Guard, whoever arrested him, that money goes to them, and they can use it to better their department to protect the people of their state.
Basically a bounty.
It's a bounty.
So how do you determine that the pilots were flying a plane that was doing this? Is that an easy thing to do?
Yes, it is easy. Very easy. And we have a brand new app coming out in about 60 days that is going to blow everybody's mind. It will track every single thing that's in the air in 3D, and it will label the plane, and it will show exactly what it's doing. If they don't take it down if you know what I mean. This app is going to be the most remarkable thing you've ever seen that you can use on your phone. And literally you can change it from looking upward from the ground. You can change it and look downward, and you can look sideways through the whole entire atmosphere of your whole entire state.
Wow. Do you sleep?
Sometimes.
It doesn't sound like you have much time for sleep.
No, neither do you. I guarantee you Rudy sleeps. Your dog
he's
sleeps.
trying to sleep right now.
Yeah.
He does, yeah.
Hey, quick question. I want to ask you this. I want to send you a copy of the bill that did pass and was signed here in Louisiana. I'd love for you to look at that bill because it does.
I have it already.
Oh, you already have that bill. Okay. And your call here is for us to continue to call for a special session right now, because this is an emergency that has to be addressed right now in our legislature.
That's right. And I have 3 senators there that I'm working with, and I've told them this. And the problem is you have a weak governor, and this is the problem. This is we have an emergency. We are being poisoned, and I guarantee you that most everybody could go get a hair sample or a blood sample done, and you're going to find high levels of aluminum. We know that aluminum causes Alzheimer's. Yeah. I mean, Dr. Cole and these guys are saying that they're seeing Alzheimer's in people in their 40s. This is insanity.
It's insanity.
That's scary stuff, man.
Back to your point about the federal government being such a high bar to achieve getting this done. Would having a convention of states be an alternative to having all those actors in government do that?
That's right. That's my plan. You get 35 states. You only need 26. And I hate to say this, folks, but we're back at Gettysburg, and the states are telling the federal government, don't do this. And when you get an Air Force pilot that lands his plane somewhere and he's been spraying, that guy gets arrested. I'm sorry. But here's what you need in this nation. You need men that are in position and that are not in position, that have some backbone. Now, I wanted to use another word, but I know you have a Christian broadcast, because I'm not going to say that. But they need to get off their tailbone, get some backbone. And let me just say this, people don't message me and say, oh, you'll be Clintonized I'm not going anywhere until the creator of the universe says so.
That's
and
right.
Everybody ought to get them a drink and quit being fearful about this stuff and stand up and start saying the things that you want in the universe. Can you imagine all of us standing around David as he's headed from home to meet his brothers, and then he gets to the top of the hill and there's Goliath? You know what everybody says? Oh, that guy's going to kill you. No, you got to be quiet and get that mindset and the attitude of David, and don't let other people put armor on you and tell you how to fight. And let me tell you, folks, a lot of people don't like the way I fight because I tell it exactly how it is. And sometimes I want to punch people in the face, and I'm a Christian, so I know it's, but I'm just telling you, these people are trying to kill us, and you better get you a drink and get on board, and you can do this.
That's right. Well, I like the way you fight, because I'm so tired of people dancing around the issues, not saying what's really going on, acting like they don't know what's going on, or actually being stupid and only talking about things that don't matter. So thank you for the way that you're standing up, Steve. It's an inspiration.
Well, let me just say this. Back in my younger days, I used to do a lot of dynamite work. And so I'm really good with dynamite. I know how to use it, and it's very effective if you put a lot of mud on top of it. And let me just say this. People that call me and talk to me on legislative levels, well, we need to build bridges. I'm not building bridges with anyone. I'm here to blow the bridges up.
you know how to do it.
This is a warning to every state senator. This is a warning. Every governor, every state senator, every House representative. If you won't get this Mystic bill and you won't get on this, you will not be in office next go around. Every state, every House representative, you will not be in office. I'll take a 3rd grade educated hillbilly in the middle of nowhere, and you know what he'll do? He'll repeal the laws that are bad. We'll get tech people that can help him, and I know what he'll do. He'll got tobacco running out of both sides of his mouth. He's a good country boy. He fears God, and what he's going to do is he's going to take care of the people of Louisiana.
That's right.
Steve, you have our 100% commitment on the State of Freedom and LACAG, our advocacy group here, to absolutely push as hard as we can possibly push, not only to get not just for the special session now, but to get this legislation passed that you're talking about.
Well, let me just tell you this: if they won't pass the bill, then they didn't care about the children at Camp Mystic.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Because who's to say that the kids in your neighborhood aren't the ones that are next?
Well, your kids in your neighborhood are next. They're not
Exactly.
next. They're now.
They're now.
I mean, they're putting 5G towers on there. Everybody go order them an EMF reader off Amazon. It's like an EMF 390 or 360. Go read it. Pull that up. Under AT&T's own writings say that anything over 1,000 is harmful to a grown adult. Go to your child's playground and turn that thing on. And then the child's been breathing aluminum and barium and strontium all for the last 3 months. And that stuff's in his bloodstream, and you got radiation coming out of AT&T tower. Listen, folks, you better get you a hard line and understand this and get educated. There are 6 dimensions to this weather modification. And when 6G comes out, this thing is going to get really ugly, really ugly.
It feels pretty ugly now.
It feels pretty ugly right now. Steve, so we're consuming poison right now, every day. It sounds like between what's in the atmosphere and what's in the food that we buy. I mean, we're slowly but surely being killed. Is that a fair thing to say? They're killing us.
And I hate to say this, but the WEF and the WHO, it's their transhuman agenda. They want you to be part human and part computer. Machine. Yeah, and they want to change because mankind is God's greatest creation, and they want to alter the DNA, and they want to be able to control you. And the states can stop this. They can. Basically, we're back at Gettysburg, and we're not doing this.
So we have the authority, Steve. We have the authority under the Constitution, clearly under the 9th and 10th Amendments, to stand up strong against this. We have the authority to do it.
That is 100% correct. And you know what's going to happen when a governor and your senators do that? What your state's going to lose is federal funding. So you better have some good economic boys down there that's got some backbone and say, well, we can do it by ourselves anyway. And that's a state's way you should be running, because what they do, they send federal money to the states, and then they manipulate the states like putting DEI into schools with porn in it. You know, that's what they do. Federal money under COVID relief money.
Well, Steve, I guess Louisiana's in a pretty good position, because I'm pretty sure all of our politicians have been stealing our federal money anyway.
Well, yeah, I know. And that's the thing about it is what we need to do is, if your politicians won't take on the Mystic bill, I personally believe that the Mystic bill is the restart of the states saying no to the federal government. And you need men. And listen, I'm not kidding you. The reason that I just had a big throwdown with the Speaker of the House here, because basically the Speaker of the House in Idaho said, I said, I want you to call a special session. I want you to get the Mystic bill. I want you to get everybody on board. And anybody that's not on board, I said, I'll take care of that side of it. I said, I have a huge social media platform. I said, I influence about 1 million people a week. He said that social media doesn't matter and it's never going to happen. So the nice person that I am, who likes to punch people in the face at certain times, just in thought though, everybody knows, just in thought. So what I did is I made a video and I threw the Speaker of the House under the bus and told him that, you know what, basically what he said to me was he didn't care about the Mystic bill. Basically, if you won't do anything about it now when you know your people are being poisoned. So I made a really nice video and threw him under the bus. Well, I got in a lot of trouble. DC even called me and said, you got to cool it. You got to cool it, bro. That was 2 days after RFK was at my farm.
Look, you know what? Washington doesn't get to tell you what to say, Steve. So I hope, well, it sounds like you may have taken it down, but if you want to put it back up, we'll support you.
Okay, it's going to go. Listen, here's what the deal is. I understand DC's point. Their point is that RFK is with me. RFK understands what needs to happen. Give him 3 weeks to get his side done. And I said, well, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll take the video down and I'm going to give you 3 weeks. I said, then you have to give me permission. I'll agree with you to work with you for 3 weeks. And that's one of the reasons I'm heading back to DC, 11th and 12th. I said, but here's the issue. I said, when the 3-week mark hits, you get to release me and let me be the bulldog. And they said, agreed.
So
Very
you got that agreement there.
I do. I have that agreement. I have about 10 more days. 10 days of 4 hours, 3 minutes, and 13 seconds.
Yeah.
You got the countdown clock going. How do you recommend we rally the troops here in Louisiana? How would you recommend to states to get people activated on this? Are you hosting rallies? Are you doing like virtual town halls? How are you getting this message out? Because so few people are actually paying attention, Steve. I know you know that.
Yeah, so the way we've been doing it, it's been growing very rapid. So Sergey Brown is one, and then there's Missouri Clean Skies. What I encourage everybody to do is start a Facebook social media platform, and it's a Clean or Clear Skies movement page. And we, in that movement, we connect all the information that I'm telling you. You get everything that I have. And then we're going to mobilize these people, and this will go to all the way to the levels, and then we will use this social media platform. I have a plan that'll be finished in 2 weeks that will show how to completely change the entire United States through voting, and not voting Democrat and not voting Republican. And there's a secret way to do it that is legal, and it is a way to win. It's legal, and it's never been done in American history. And this will be our last straw. This will be Gettysburg.
Wow.
But it's still your position and our position that this battle needs to be won, at least legislatively, at the state level, not the federal level.
It's not going to happen at the federal level. When you get 35 states to win this and put the Mystic Bill in place, then what's going to happen is after you arrest about the first 5 pilots, you got a nice Delta pilot. He's got a family of 3. He's been married 26 years. He's a former, Iraq veteran, and he's flying for Delta now, and he lands and he gets arrested. Let me tell you something. This is going to get really ugly really fast. And you know why? People say, well, it's not that pilot's fault. Well, let me just tell you how this is. If you're driving down the highway and you're texting on your phone and you run over grandma on the sidewalk, I know you didn't mean to, but it's called involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or certainly negligent homicide. No question about that. They have an obligation to know what they're doing. And Steve, is it realistic to think at this point that they don't know what they're doing?
Look, this is what I go back to. You're either stupid or you're in on it, or you're lazy. So there's 3 categories. You're either stupid, you're in on it, or you're lazy, you're not doing anything about it. Everybody has to get on this board with this. Everybody. Grandma who's 93 get up on her Facebook and talks about bridge. We need her throwing down saying, I do not consent for any pollution to be released over me. And that's the phrase.
Yeah. Steve, why is it, do you think, I have my own theories, I'm sure Danielle has hers. Why do you think it is that there would be any resistance particularly among Republicans or among people who say that they are constitutional conservatives? Why would there be resistance against what you're talking about here? This seems like an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, well, there is a globalist agenda, and there's a ton of money in this. Now, I tell you, this is one of the number one questions I get asked from legislators, and they say, Steve, who in their right mind, what's in their head that they want to poison every single person, woman, child, animal, food, everything? What is in their head? And I said, look, it's the depopulation agenda from the WF. And I said, it's like trying to figure out Jeffrey Dahmer putting people's heads in a pickle jar in his refrigerator, right? I mean, can you get in his head and understand why he did that? No.
Right.
It's wicked, and it's from the devil, and righteous people need to stand up. And let me just say this too. Listen, fine, the rapture, fine. We're still here today. So I don't need you to leave. a lot of Christians are always leaving. I need you in the fight. And you know what? If we get sucked out of this deal in the middle of this fight, then you're going to get a lot more brownie points when you stand before the Lord. But I need you in the fight, and I need you to do something about this for the grandchildren and children that are in our nation.
That's right.
Great point. There's so many, Steve, unfortunately, and people who are Christians, and I'm sure sincere Christians, who I believe almost use the fact that we know in the end God prevails. In the end, good does prevail over evil, but they use that almost as a justification for inaction. And our point is God expects us to act. He expects us to fight. He expects us to be the Davids and the Pauls of our day, of our generation. He doesn't expect us to sit there and say, oh, it'll all work out, God's will, everything. That's not the attitude that God wants us to have.
Well, exactly. And that was the scripture this morning. Love looks like something. Love is action.
Well said.
Well, and the thing about it is, what I tell people is, punching people in the face can be love. And let me explain it to you. I know this is a different type of sermon than you're usually used to, but it's a free sermon.
It's my kind of sermon.
So here's the way it goes. So you're driving to town and a carjacker, you got your grandkids or kids in the back seat, and a mass carjacker jerks your door open and you got a pistol laying there. What are you going to do? Oh, it's just God's will. And you get up and walk away and let them take your children? Please help me. No. You're going to punch this guy in the face. In the name of Jesus, you're going to hit him with everything you got. And this is what we need to do because we're being carjacked.
Yes. This is slightly unrelated here. And I know that you're not an ordained pastor, but I think maybe you could have been. But I want to ask you something, because this is something that's come up on other shows. You have, to me, this is an issue that has to do with fundamental morality. It has to do with issues of ethics. And yet there are a lot of pastors and church leaders who are so reluctant to weigh in on these issues. What would you say to pastors? I mean, they have a tremendous amount of influence over congregations across the United States. What would you say to pastors, Steve, about their obligations on this issue?
Well, let me tell you a good thing to remember about the Old Testament. There's it says in the Bible, it says that before the foundation of earth, that God had predestined the children of Israel to go into the promised land. Do y'all know this part of the Bible where God says He predestined them to go into the promised land?
Yeah.
That means that it was all set in stone. They were going to go to the promised land, and it was God's will. Guess what? They didn't go, folks. They didn't make it. And it is not talking about heaven, okay? That was a literal land and a literal place, and they complained and were disobedient, and they did not fight the enemy the correct way. And so guess what? The trip got canceled. So all you pastors out there that are just completely operating in the grace and love of Jesus, you're out of order.
That's such a great point, Steve. That's such a great point you just made. You're saying that just because something may be God's will, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to come about if we're not down here doing our part. Is that basically what you're saying?
That's what the Bible's saying. God commands us to build riches up for our grandchildren. There are so many things that God commands us to do. And let me just say this. I'm going to tell everybody on this broadcast, here is the will of God. Okay? I'm going to tell you what it is. It's 4 things. It's to pray without ceasing, give thanks always, present your body as a living sacrifice, and don't be immoral. And those verses I'll say, and this is the will of the Lord in Christ Jesus. The rest of it is a plan that you get in order with. Now, yes, did I get called into this little special part of my life that I really don't have? I'm being kind of drugged in through this, kind of like Paul and Saul and David, all them, that certain men get chosen for certain things. Because just so you know, it's not, a lot of these days, I'm not too excited about being in this fight. But if I had more people on my side, it'd be a lot more helpful. But You do have to understand Man plans his way and God guides the steps. That's what Solomon wrote. And if you have no plan for your life and you won't write anything down, stop complaining about the government being bad. Stop complaining about weather modifications. Stop complaining about your food being bad when you have no plan for your own entire life. That's the reason I got up and wrote the plan. I wrote the plan to restart the agrarian society in our nation. I do not believe God would have awakened me in the night and told me to do that. And not only that, but I have the resources and the ability from my past to do so.
Yeah.
I know how to do this. You know, David was good with a slingshot. He didn't get a city slicker out of the city to go fight Goliath. David was already a master of the slingshot. So God does use people. And I wrote the Mystic Bill because I know how to stop this. And the next thing I'm writing is the legislators how to remove all senators and House representatives if they won't do the Mystic Bill.
Yes,
and
indeed.
You better get a plan. You need to do this. And Christians need to get on board. And if God raptures us out of this game, fine.
Yeah, that's up to him. That's not up to us. So we got to keep on keeping on. And Steve, I'd love to get you back on when your Starlink is back up and when you are back from your trip to DC. I'd love to hear how that goes. Sure. I'd love to also know if you're how the clock goes on this video, that either you put it back up or it gets to stay down.
Well, you know, I told you 10 days. It's 10 days, 4 hours. It's 31 minutes now and 9 seconds. But I'm going to show people how to play tough and be nice. I didn't use any foul language. You know, I didn't hurt anybody. I just said the facts, and these are the rules, and these are the rules of engagement. And if everybody will get on this page, we can change the entire nation.
We're doing a call to action, Steve. We're going to have it up today on the LeCag page, and we are going to be moving quick and furiously on this issue. No question about it. And your insight and your information is just extraordinary, and your enthusiasm. I want to ask you one final question here, because it jumped out at me. And this probably applies to everybody who is involved in advocacy and activism. You said there are some days when you wake up and you don't really want to be in this fight. And I bet you everybody on certain days has that. I have that. Danielle probably has that. What is it in those moments that keeps you moving?
Well, God reminds me that I was on my deathbed.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you this. I fought a lot growing up in school, and I kind of actually enjoyed this. You know, I enjoy fighting. The part that disappoints me is that Christians don't get involved, and they're so passive. Yeah. And that when I talk with legislators that are so passive, I'm like, why am I doing this? That's really what knocks me down more than anything. You know, I don't mind being in the front lines. I don't mind being the guy up saying these things and showing how to do this. But when you meet people that are supposedly really good Christians and been, you know, follower of Christ for a long time and supposedly know the Bible, and they're so passive, you're like, oh man, bro, no way I'd want to be in a foxhole with you during a wartime.
Yeah.
Could not have possibly said that any better. And we experience it all the time. And that's one of the reasons why we exist, to expose and remove them. And you got to get down here to Louisiana. All I can tell you that is, if there's one guy that I want to meet personally, it's you. So you got to get down here. We'll treat you right here.
Yeah, well, I've got to go to Arizona and do a meeting with TPUSA. So I'm flying down there.
Amazing.
So maybe I just skip over to and I'm supposed to be on looks like I'm going to be on Sean Hannity and Bannon's War Room pretty soon.
Wonderful.
So, anyway, yeah.
We're so honored to be allied with you, Steve Jarvis. It is extraordinary what you are doing on an issue of massive importance. So God bless you. Before we let you go, I want to let our listeners know that Dr. Evelyn Griffin is having her annual All Things Wellness event on August 23rd at the Revolution Square, 9500 Blackwater Road in Baker, from 9 to 3. Registration is $10, and it is all day long. And there will be regenerative farmers present at Evelyn Griffin's All Things Wellness. She's a great, great doctor. And if you want to get healthy and remain healthy, you got to go find out at her event. It is just so powerful. We went last year and it was outstanding. Cannot say enough about her. And then on Tuesday on the State of Freedom, we're going to have Sean Taylor right here at 10 a.m., the former deputy chief of police in Tennessee, who's going to talk about criminal transnational conspiracies and what he is doing to expose it. An unbelievable story on Sean Taylor. You don't want to miss that. Steve, do you have any final words here that you want to tell us? I don't want to, for some reason, I don't want to stop listening to you.
And also give us your website one more time so people know how to follow your work and keep up with what you're doing.
You can go to SAS, that's SAS-USA.com, all lowercase. In my farm school, I have an online farm school, and I'm the only farmer that still farms, and I write my own moon phase calendar, and I've done over 3,000 surgeries on mammals, and I can show you how to do surgery on your animals where they won't bleed. And these are the old ways. My farm school is the old ways. People need to go back to this old rotary crop farming ways. It's what made the nation strong. Families worked together. The churches were strong. And basically, you were too tired to be in trouble.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Steve Jarvis, God bless you, sir. And we look forward to supporting you in this effort. And again, it's a great honor to be allied with you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.